Grease was still drying on my hands when Randy Fawkes told me my dad dying wasn't his problem. I'd just finished unloading the last pallet of alternators into the back aisle when I asked him. I was still catching my breath, my shirt stuck to my back with sweat, and he didn't even look up. Just flipped through that damn clipboard like I was asking about clocking out early. Find someone to cover your shifts, or don't bother coming back. That's what he said. Same tone he used last week when someone dropped a box of timing belts. My name's Mason Gardner. I'm 32. I've worked at that warehouse in Topeka, Kansas since I was 26. 6 years, double shifts, no benefits, no raises, and not a single complaint out of me. Not once. I showed up when guys called out. I learned every damn aisle. I trained 3 floor managers who ended up making more than I ever did. Never bothered me. I was just trying to keep my bills paid and stay out of trouble. But that day was different. My old man was dying. Harold Gardner wasn't perfect, but he raised me alone after Mom walked out when I was 9. I remember him sitting in the driveway, staring at her empty car spot, like she'd just gone to grab milk. She never came back. He never talked about her. Just worked, cooked dinner, helped me with math, showed me how to change oil and where to hit the starter with a wrench when it wouldn't turn. Now he was laying in a hospital bed at County General with more tubes than skin showing. Doctor said days, maybe less. I just wanted to be there. 5 days. That's what I asked for. Randy kept scratching notes on that clipboard like I didn't exist. Like my request was a hiccup in his schedule. I said, "Randy, it's my dad. He might not make it to the weekend." He shrugged, didn't even blink. "Then I guess you've got a decision to make. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from." I stood there a second, heart pounding, hands shaking. I could feel sweat sliding down my neck. I didn't say another word, just dropped my gloves on the floor and walked out. He shouted after me, something about how I'd never work a forklift in this county again. Like that was some kind of threat. Like I gave a damn. Screw him. My dad was the only real thing I had left in this world. And I wasn't about to miss saying goodbye to him because of some clipboard tyrant with a bald spot and a power complex. I drove straight to County General, still covered in axle grease. I parked in the emergency lot sideways and left the truck running. The nurse at the front desk tried to stop me, told me visiting hours were over, but I didn't slow down. Just held up my hands, still covered in black streaks, and said, "That's my dad." They let me through. He was in room 417. Lights dimmed, machines beeping soft and steady, like a metronome keeping time on his last song. He looked smaller. That hit me the hardest. My whole life he'd seemed solid, calloused hands, big shoulders, voice like sandpaper. But that night, he looked like he could float away if the machines let go. He turned his head when I walked in, tried to smile. Tubes shifted in his nose. "Took you long enough," he croaked. "Traffic," I said, pulling the chair close. I held his hand, grease and all, and didn't let go. We didn't say much. What the hell do you say when the guy who raised you is dying? You don't talk. You stay. He made it through the night, barely. At 6:23 a.m., he took his last breath. I felt it in his hand. One last twitch, then nothing. The nurse came in a minute later and said it was peaceful. Didn't feel peaceful. Felt like the bottom dropped out of my world. The funeral was 3 days later. I paid for it with the last of my savings, the cheapest package they had. Plain pine box, no flowers, 10 folding chairs. It was just me, 2 of Dad's old poker buddies, Ray and Chuck, and Mrs. Ellis from upstairs. She was still mad we'd blown out her light fixture cheering during the Super Bowl, but she showed up. Wore all black and brought a casserole. The next week was worse. Every drawer in the apartment was stuffed with bills, insurance forms, medical paperwork. He didn't leave a will. I had to fill out form after form just to close his bank account. And I still had to pay off the hospital tab. They wanted $10,000. I had maybe $60. The place felt like a tomb. His smell was still in the couch. His razor was still sitting by the sink. I kept waiting to hear him yell from the kitchen about the damn water heater again. Nothing. Just silence. That kind that sinks into your chest and stays there. I opened the fridge one night and saw the last beer he ever bought, sitting right next to his leftover chili. I threw both out and slammed the door so hard the handle cracked. I wanted to break something, anything, but there was nothing left to break. The world had already taken the most important thing I had. So I cleaned the apartment, took a shower, and tried to figure out how the hell I was going to survive the rest of the month. Monday morning, I pulled on the same jeans from the floor and went back to the warehouse like a dog that had been kicked too many times but still came home. I didn't care about pride. I needed rent. No one said a word when I walked in. Not the forklift guys, not the front office girls. Just silence and that high-pitched hum from the overhead lights. I clocked in, headed straight to the back, started breaking down pallets like nothing had changed. But everything had. My dad was dead. I had $62 in my account, and I was working for the same bastard who told me family emergencies weren't his problem. Randy showed up around 10, chewing gum like it owed him money. He walked past me without a glance, all cocky in his stupid vest with supervisor stitched above the pocket like it meant something. I kept my head down, but inside, I wanted to drive a pallet jack straight through his office door. That's when the suit walked in. Not a guy in a tie. This man walked like he answered only to the president. Crisp navy suit, polished shoes, aviators. You could hear the air change when he stepped onto the floor. He scanned the place once and came right for me. Mr. Gardner? I looked up, confused. Yeah? He pulled out a badge like it was a weapon. Director Lennox, Treasury Department, Financial Crimes Division. Randy appeared out of nowhere, already smiling like a weasel who just sniffed cheese. Is there a problem here, sir? I'm the floor manager. If there's any issue... Lennox cut him off without even turning. We're not here for you. Randy blinked. Oh, okay. He tried to laugh. Just doing my job, right? Lennox didn't even acknowledge him. Mr. Gardner, we need to talk. Privately, I followed him out back, past the loading docks, into a government-issue black sedan, with windows so dark I couldn't see myself. Inside, it was ice cold and smelled like old leather. You know who your father was? Lennox asked, pulling a tablet from his briefcase. Harold Gardner, I said. Raised me. Taught me how to change a carb. He gave me a look like I'd just scratched the surface of a volcano. He was one of the best forensic accountants we've ever worked with, Lennox said. Low profile. Off the radar. That was his style. I stared at him. You're telling me my dad was some kind of undercover number cop? More like a ghost with a calculator, he said. He was deep into an investigation. Parent company of your warehouse, Corbridge Logistics. We estimate over $40 million in tax fraud, laundering, and false labor reports. I sat back. What the hell does that have to do with me? Lennox tapped the screen. Your father encrypted everything, locked it behind layers of passwords, most of it gone for now. But if he left anything behind, notes, drives, access codes, we need it. Without the files, the entire case collapses. You're our only shot. I didn't say anything. My mouth was dry. Lennox leaned in. Mason, your father didn't just stumble into this. He built it, quietly, for years. If you have anything, we need it now. I looked out the window toward the warehouse, saw Randy pacing by the loading ramp, looking around like a squirrel in traffic. Then I looked back at Lennox. I'll check his stuff. I got back to the apartment, locked the door, and didn't sit down. Didn't even take my boots off. I went straight for Dad's desk, yanked open drawers like they owed me answers, notebooks stacked tight, labeled in his weird shorthand, company names, numbers in brackets, symbols I'd never seen before. First one I opened had a list of initials down the side, HRPLJNKF. Next to them, strings of digits and plus signs. Looked like a Sudoku puzzle built by the CIA. The handwriting got tighter with every page. After an hour, my head hurt. My hands were black from old ink and dust. I flipped through one notebook too fast, and a USB stick fell out. Then another. Then 3 more. 5 total. Each labeled with a strip of masking tape and a number. I stopped breathing for a second. Checked the closet. Nothing. Looked under his bed. Just bills. Then I opened the water heater cabinet, and there it was, wedged behind the tank. A dented gray lockbox, heavy. I sat on the kitchen floor with it and stared at the dial. Tried a few dates, his birthday, my birthday, the year we bought the truck. Nothing. Then I just sat there, sweating, and it hit me. I spun the dial, 1949, 1992, 2001, the year he was born, the year I was born, the year Mom walked out. Click. It opened. Inside was one plain envelope. No cash, no drive, no explanation. Just my name. To Mason. I opened it and found a folded sheet of printer paper, typed in courier font like it was made on a damn typewriter. 23 passcodes, each one labeled by company, government departments, banks, foreign shell corporations. Number 12 on the list, Corbridge Logistics. That's when I knew. He hadn't just been investigating them. He'd built a damn time bomb. I stayed up the rest of the night plugging each USB into my old laptop. Air-gapped, no internet. Every single one had spreadsheets, receipts, internal memos, financial statements with employee initials and dollar amounts next to them. He'd documented everything, down to who approved which fake invoice and when. He wasn't just poking around. He had their entire system mapped out. By morning, I hadn't slept. My hands were shaking. My coffee tasted like acid. I called Lennox. He answered on the first ring. "It's Gardner," I said. "I think I've got it." He didn't say anything for a few seconds, then, "You're serious?" 5 USBs, a lockbox, spreadsheets, names, dates. All of it. His voice dropped to a whisper, like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You just revived the biggest white-collar case of the decade." I could hear paper rustling on his end, like he was already digging through his briefcase. "I'm emailing you an encrypted upload link," he said. "Top clearance." "When can you send it?" I looked at the stack on the table. Dad's notes, drives, that letter with my name. "Give me 24 hours, I said. "Take 12. Every second matters. I didn't upload the files, not right away. I sent Lennox a partial copy, just enough to keep his case alive. But that wasn't my priority. I stared at those drives sitting on the counter, thinking about all the crap we took at that warehouse. My dad didn't just leave behind a pile of data. He left a weapon, and I was holding the trigger. I started paying attention, real close. Randy showed up every morning in a Lexus with custom rims, wearing a $3,000 Breitling like he'd earned it stocking shelves. Meanwhile, the rest of us were being paid training wages, 3 years into the job. I watched him pocket cash from weekend guys who got paid under the table, watched him fudge hours on the whiteboard when nobody was looking. He laughed during lunch about ghost employees and how upper management loved creativity. He thought he was untouchable, so I started documenting it, all of it. I pulled old pay stubs, snapped pictures of the overtime logs he forgot to submit, compared schedules against security footage, built spreadsheets like Dad used to, color-coded, time-stamped, tight. Every dirty dollar had a footprint. I went full ghost mode, quiet, invisible. Let Randy think I was still grieving and dumb. Then I made the call, not to Lennox, to Logimart. They were Corbridge's main competitor in the freight game. Smaller, smarter, cleaner. I found the name of their legal director online, Sandra Kim. Left a voicemail. "I have proof of over $40 million in fraud that could sink Corbridge permanently." "I want a meeting," she called back an hour later. "You have documentation?" 5 USBs, 23 access keys, and a full audit trail. And names, dates, offshore accounts. Long pause. Then, "Can you come to Chicago tomorrow?" 12 hours later, I was on a Greyhound with a backpack full of files and a burner phone. We met in a glass office on the 26th floor of some tower downtown. I was wearing the same jeans I wore to Harold's funeral. She was in a gray suit with steel in her eyes. I slid the folder across the table. My dad spent 10 years building this. He died for it. Corbridge is dirty from the top down. She flipped through the first few pages, didn't blink. "You want money or revenge?" she asked. "Both," I said. That got a smile. "We're listening." I laid it out. I wanted full payout up front, and protection for every warehouse worker who'd been dragged into the mess without knowing it. I named names, people like Luis from shipping, who worked 60-hour weeks and got paid for 40. Jess from the front desk, who never got her sick days. Sandra didn't flinch. "Do you understand what this does to Corbridge?" she said. "Yeah, I do. And you're okay walking away from the feds?" I looked her in the eye. "My dad gave them everything. They sat on it until it was too late. You You'll burn them to the ground by Monday morning. She leaned back, steepled her fingers, and nodded. We'll draft terms. Be ready to sign by tomorrow. Sandra didn't waste time. By the next morning, her legal team sent over the offer. $40 million, full rights to the data, and they'd take care of the legal arm wrestling with the government. I stared at the contract on my phone like it might explode. They wanted it all. The drives, the passcodes, the spreadsheets, every bit of dirt my dad had dug up. I sent back 2 conditions. 1, full payout up front. No installments, no promises, $40 million wired same day. 2, immunity for every warehouse employee who unknowingly touched any of Corbridge's dirty work. No fines, no charges, no scapegoats. Sandra called back 20 minutes later. Done, she said. We signed in her office, just like the day before. I brought the physical drives, hand-delivered in a fireproof case I bought that morning from a hardware store. They gave me a receipt like it was just another business transaction. An hour later, I checked my account. $40 million. To a guy who barely passed Algebra 2 and couldn't afford car insurance 2 weeks ago. I just sat there and stared at it for a long time. Then I laughed. Loud. Not because I felt rich, because I finally felt like I wasn't trapped anymore. But I still had one last thing to do. That afternoon, I walked back into the warehouse for the final time. Randy was barking at some poor new guy for stacking a pallet too tight, yelling loud enough for the break room to hear. I walked straight across the floor, past the racks of brake pads and radiators, and stopped right in front of him. He turned, saw me, and rolled his eyes. Didn't expect you back, Gardner. Lose your spine or just your dignity? I didn't say a word, just handed him a single sheet of paper. He snatched it like I was wasting his time, looked at it, started reading. This is an official agreement from Logimart, I said. They've moved to acquire Corbridge using the files my dad left. Every branch, including this dump, is about to change hands. He blinked. What is this? They also acquired all of your company's internal records, including the felonies. He looked up at me, face going pale like a light bulb, just blew in his brain. This is fake. You think I'm stupid? I smiled. No, I think you're screwed. He shook his head, lips twitching. This won't hold up. You think you can just... Tomorrow, you'll be unemployed and under investigation. Might want to polish that resume. Assuming you're not in jail by Friday. He started shouting something behind me, but I was already walking out. Didn't turn back, didn't clock out either. The whole crew had stopped what they were doing. I saw Louise watching from the forklift, eyes wide. Jess had her phone out like she knew history was happening. And it was. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel powerless walking out those doors. I didn't just win. I'd changed the damn rules. By the time I finished my first decent breakfast in 2 weeks, the news broke. Federal agents raided Corbridge HQ at 6:15 a.m. Within 48 hours, they'd hit every regional branch, Chicago, Phoenix, Dallas, all of them. News helicopters circled warehouses like vultures. It was all over TV. Randy didn't make the morning shift. He got picked up in his driveway. They nailed him for falsifying hours, forging payroll, stealing bonus money from temp workers, and filing fake training reports. His boss, nailed on RICO charges, wire fraud, obstruction, conspiracy to defraud labor. It didn't stop there. 19 managers, 3 executives, all indicted. Some ran, most flipped. Turns out the rot wasn't just deep. It was the whole damn tree. And I wasn't about to sit back with my new money and do nothing. First thing I did was track down the people I used to work with. Every single one. Luis from shipping. I helped him file a full restitution claim for back pay. Jess from reception. Got her legal help for wrongful termination. She'd been fired for unapproved sick leave after surgery. Guys who never saw overtime pay. I got them hired at new places that paid by the book and didn't treat them like they were disposable. But that wasn't enough. Not even close. So I took $3 million out of the account and started something real. The Gardner Fund. A non-profit focused on blue-collar workers, warehouse staff, truckers, janitors, line cooks, the ones who keep everything running and still get screwed first. I brought on labor lawyers, former OSHA inspectors, even hired a couple ex-cons who knew all the scams from the inside. I didn't care about resumes, I cared about results. We offered free audits, hotline reporting, lawsuit funding, and protection for whistleblowers. First year, we recovered $5 million in stolen wages and fraudulent deductions. I watched grown men cry in our office lobby after getting their checks. Guys who hadn't been able to afford diapers or gas money now had back pay in their accounts. We didn't advertise. We didn't need to. Word spread fast, and the name Gardner, it started showing up in corporate boardrooms, not as a threat, but as a warning. One day, a warehouse exec in Soin, Lewis tried to bribe one of our investigators, offered him 10 grand to lose a complaint. We recorded the whole thing, got him fired, blacklisted, and turned the tape over to federal prosecutors. Corporate started sweating. We weren't bluffing, we weren't afraid, and we weren't alone. Turns out, a lot of people had been waiting for someone to fight back. They just needed proof, structure, firepower. That's what I gave them. And I wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. Randy's trial blew up fast. CNN, MSNBC, even the local news back in Topeka aired clips of him walking into court in a wrinkled suit, looking like someone just told him Santa wasn't real. They called it one of the biggest labor fraud cases in state history. But for me, it was personal. I took the stand twice. First time I told the court what Randy said, when I asked for 5 days off to be with my dying father. The jury hated him before I even finished. I watched them, 8 women, 4 men, all stiff-backed, arms crossed, jaws tight. By the time the prosecution rolled out the payroll documents he signed and the videos we pulled from warehouse security, it was over. 7 years, federal time, no parole, no deal, no sympathy. They took his car the same day the sentence came down. House got seized for restitution. Pension? Gone. His wife filed for divorce a week later. Couple months in, I got a letter, mailed from the federal prison in Leavenworth. Sloppy handwriting, smelled like cheap soap and sweat. He wrote about how rough his childhood was, how he grew up poor and never caught a break, how the system pushed guys like him to cut corners. And then the kicker. Do you think I deserved all this? I didn't write back, didn't even finish the letter, just tossed it in the shredder and went back to work. Because while Randy was learning what real consequences felt like, we were growing, fast. The Gardner Fund launched offices in 4 states, Kansas, Missouri, Texas, Colorado. We hired more investigators, more lawyers, set up mobile clinics for workers to walk in, show a pay stub, and walk out with a plan. We didn't target small businesses or corner stores. We went for the giants, trucking companies that shaved hours off logs, warehouses that locked emergency exits and made folks keep working in 110-degree heat, big box stores that ran mandatory volunteer shifts with no pay. If they were screwing workers and hiding the paperwork, and we made them pay. I never wanted to be famous, never wanted my name in headlines or my story on podcasts. But I'll say this. Every time we walked into a courtroom with a paper trail and left with justice, I felt like I was handing part of my dad's legacy back to the people who deserved it. He wasn't flashy, he didn't shout, but he never backed down from what was right, and neither would I. I wasn't a hero. I wasn't trying to be. I just made sure that guys like Randy, guys who think authority gives them a free pass to crush the ones below, felt what it was like to be powerless, just like they made us feel every damn day. 3 years out, the Gardner Fund was a damn machine. We'd recovered over $35 million for folks who never thought justice had their name on it. Not bad for something I started in a dusty apartment with 2 folding chairs, 1 lawyer, and a printer that jammed every 3rd page. That man shook up an entire system with nothing but handwritten notes and a dial-up connection. Now we had teams, hotlines, Spanish-speaking staff, legal training kits, anonymous complaint portals. We had ex-inspectors doing surprise audits and union reps teaching workers how to file a paper trail before their bosses could bury it. Big chains hated us. Workers? They sent us thank you cards, handshakes, sometimes tears. That's how I knew we were doing it right. Last month I got a call from Logimart again. One of their regional branches had gone rogue. Manager skimming bonuses, doctoring time cards, denying medical leave. The woman on the phone said, "We want you to investigate. We'll pay whatever it costs. I said, only one condition, full transparency. If your people cross the line, we're not shielding them. We'll drag them just like the rest. She paused, then said, understood. I took the case. Not because I trusted them, but because we don't choose who needs watching. I wasn't in it for revenge anymore. That part burned off a long time ago. Now, I'm in it because the world is full of Randys. Guys who lie, steal, and bully because they think no one's keeping score. But they're wrong. Every time one of them thinks they're untouchable, we show up with evidence, lawyers, and press coverage. We prove otherwise. Dad believed in the numbers. He believed they didn't lie, didn't spin, didn't care who you were. Me? I believe in the people. I believe in the Luises and the Jessies and the night shift janitors who bust their backs and never get credit. Together, we make a hell of a team, even now. And if Randy's still sitting in that cell, staring at peeling paint and wondering if he really deserved all this, he did. Every damn minute of it.